What's up, my good people? I am being true. That is my co-host Ryan Smitty Smith, just coming off of his mini job. Just came back from watching all the great soccer players. I do not know what city you was in, Smitty, but I do know you having fun. But listen, on this current episode, we got one of the best guests we're gonna get. I mean, former tight end in the National Football League from Charlotte, North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Played for the Colts, the Packers, the Broncos, the Bucks, and the Panthers. Mr. Dominique Dafney. What's going on with you today, Dominique?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Hey
We are
man,
good. We're
good
better for
man.
having you. Better for having you.
I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
of course, of course. Anytime we get a chance to have, I got to ask you this before we even get going. I mean, I know that Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Greg Olsen, former Panther, they do tight end U. Did you ever get a chance to go to tight end U?
Yeah, I've gone every year since it started. I worked out with George and with TJ Hawkinson and all those boys because obviously I went to school with them. So I'm out in Nashville. I'm in Nashville right now. This is where I live now. So I've gone every single year.
No, you're gonna have to give me more than that. Wait a minute. Hold.
Go
Let
ahead.
me tell you why. I got drafted by the Titans out of college,
Hmm.
and as a former tight end, we always wanted to have some. We didn't know what we would call it, but you see the wide receivers, you see the D linemen, you see the
Hmm.
quarterbacks, and tight ends was always like, "What about us?" We asked to do everything except throw the football.
Yeah.
Somebody need to let us do that. Well, Trey Burton, he kind of killed that in Philly, in the Super Bowl, but for those tight ends that, like myself, who one admire what George and Greg and Travis is doing, how much fun is it to it's just us. We ain't focusing on no other position. And obviously you guys learned about financial strategies,
Hmm.
trying to make money away from football. How do I find me? Does Taylor Swift have a sister? Who knows? I'm just
Yeah.
saying. But talk about the experience, Dominique, and what is that like having something that's strictly for the tight end position?
I mean, it's kind of like you said. It's special. It's 101, and obviously the first year I went was the first year, and that was going into my second year. So being able to brush shoulders with Travis Kelsey, Darren Waller, some of the best tight ends in the league, some of the best tight ends to ever play the game. Obviously, that was special. But then, of course, it's all tight ends in one building and one roof and one city on one field. Just being able to talk just tight end, just the position, being able to actually show love to each other, like we all watch film on each other as it is. So being able to show love to each other and say, hey, you do this well, you do this well, just shine a light on the position and on each other. It was great. And of course, the camaraderie. We're in Nashville. So we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna go out. I'm not gonna say what we did, but we had a great time. There was a lot of great moments, things that we will always talk about every year. You remember when this happened, you remember there's always going to be some fun. So it's just the fact that being able to brush shoulders with some of the best tight ends in the league, but then also being able to have that camaraderie, we all can hang out, show love to the position, and have some fun in Nashville.
You're forgetting one guy who is now an Emmy award-winning broadcaster, but he was also pretty good at tight end. That would be Greg Olsen, guy who, as a Carolina Panthers content creator as well, and longtime fan of the team. Talk about a guy like Greg Olsen, who guys like Kelsey are still playing, as you mentioned, with George Kittle, but Olsen has gotten out of the game. He's now won an Emmy for broadcasting, and he's also done it at the highest level. He's announced a Super Bowl, and by the way, he was very good at the tight end position. People may not think of him like Gronkowski or Kelsey or Kittle, but in my opinion, he's right up there, with the greats. A guy like Greg Olsen, who is now kind of doing what you're doing. We'll get at the broadcast boot camp here in a second, but doing what kind of you're trying to transition into from tight end to broadcaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he actually, I want to say, was the third year that we had tight end U. I came up to him because I knew I wanted to get into broadcasting,
Yep.
and I just straight up asked him, like, what should I do to get in, and like, what should I do to get my foot in the door? Just kind of like was being vulnerable for a second because I wanted to do it. I knew I had a passion to do it, and he was just straight up honest with me, be like, just start low, start at the bottom, whether it's high school, whether it's podcasting, whatever it is, whether it's just holding up a phone in front of your face and talk in front of the camera. He said, just get the reps. That's what's most important. He talked to me about how he started at the high school level, and there's some film of him that nobody will ever see, and he hopes nobody ever sees, that, you know, allowed him to grow in the broadcasting world and in the booth, and it, you know, enabled him to, you know, kind of get comfortable, get those reps, and that's really the biggest thing that he was saying, is just those reps, and that experience is so important, because he made the comparison to football. It was like when you're running a route, you don't even have to think about it because you've ran that route so many times. It's the same thing with broadcasting. Once you get those reps, you get that experience. It's just like running a route. You understand what you have to do. You understand leverage. You understand zone versus man. You understand how to run an out route versus this type of look. Same thing in the booth. Once you start to get that experience, you understand what you need and what the fans need from you, whether it's, you know, a blowout by 30 points or it's the Super Bowl versus the Philadelphia Eagles and you have a questionable call with Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, you understand what to do in that position, and I learned that straight from him.
The access is what I hear, because, you know, if you are Travis Kelce, you know, you larger than life. Before you get engaged to Taylor Swift. If you George Kittle, you know, I know you went to that Iowa pipeline. I played in Dallas Clark era. So I played in the no glove, wristband, Dallas Clark, you know, TJ Hawkinson. You talk about Noah Fant, you talk about yourself, talk about George Kittle. But what is that like for you, Dominique, to say, all right, there go Greg Olsen right there. I am not going to go home and say what I should have asked. I'm going to approach him, and him being receptive, because I think sometimes your persona is bigger than you. I don't know if I can approach him. Do he want me to talk to him? What made Dominique say, look, he might not like it, but I'm going to go right to him and ask him? Because sometimes just hearing from him, man, start small. Like, look, don't doubt what he's really saying. Don't doubt yourself, man. I did not land here. I know y'all see me now, but if I was Greg, I would put that tape out, because listen, I got to be willing to look crazy for what I really want. I got to be willing to say, all right, you know, if I want, I'm just as a scenario. If I want to be a rapper, I got to get on the mic. Now, I don't rap and I don't do that, but walking away from a conversation like that with Greg, whether it was 5 minutes or an hour, what did that do for your confidence walking away from that conversation?
It definitely gave me direction. I mean, a lot of it was, you know, for football, it's easy. Like, go run some routes, you know, go get a quarterback, run some routes. You play football, it's easy. You have practice, you can lift, you can do all sorts of things with football. For this thing, it's kind of like there's no real direction, at least these days, with how many outlets there are to get into the broadcasting world. It kind of just gave me direction of where I should go next, and to be able to, you know, have the confidence, like you said, to just start, just try it. And I think the confidence to even be able to go up to talk to him was, shoot, he was in the building. And I felt like in the back of my mind, like you said, I would have been kind of pissed at myself had I not went up and talked to him and asked. Because, like, you got one of the best, not only one of the best tight ends, but you have one of the best guys in the broadcasting world standing right in front of you, running this whole tight end U. So it's like, if I would not have taken that opportunity, I would have been pissed with myself. I would have been a wasted opportunity. And they always talk about it as well, as like, we're a brotherhood. We're tight ends, we're NFL players, we're men. You know, being able to be vulnerable and ask each other the tough questions that, you know, may not be the most comfortable conversation to have, but it's just like, you got to ask the question, because if you don't, you don't know. So it's like being able to be in those rooms. I'm not going to leave without some information that I don't need or that I didn't have before. So just being able to go up to them and be vulnerable and just ask the question that I know I wanted to know, and be able to have those conversations where I know it's going to be able to help me in the direction I want to go.
But isn't that what tight end you really is, though? Like, look, I know Travis can tell us what he do at the top of his route. Man, I don't run routes like you. I can see what you're doing, but listen, different body types, different way of releases. The tight end you to me is, hey, man, we get to let our hair down. I get to talk to you. I get to see the person who plays football, not the football player who don't get to be a person. And we all doing this. Listen, one of us, you know, with George Kittle and, you know, what these guys are doing right now with the money that they're making is great. But I got to ask you this word that nobody wants to deal with, and it's called transition. The game has always been there. When did Dominique say, oh, all right, aka a regular job, it's the boogeyman. When did you say, okay, football is coming to an end? Let me start preparing myself. At least nothing will ever replace football. It's hard to do that.
Right.
But broadcasting, podcasting, analyzing, it comes about as close to it as you can get. It's just now it's what I know from the neck up and not from the neck down. But the neck down is, got me this far. Now I got to put the cleats up, and I got to get in this booth. What made you, Dominique, say, all right, man, I'm gonna give this. No, I'm not gonna give this. We, football players, we don't say we're gonna give it a try. We say, no, this is what I'm doing until something else. When did you make the decision to say, I'm gonna do this analyst thing, I'm gonna do this broadcast thing, I'm gonna try to do the TV or whatever comes from it?
If I'm being honest, it was the year of 2024 that really made me kind of lock into it, because it was just a complete year of ups and downs. And I mean, the highest highs to the lowest of lows that I didn't even know that I could get to. And it opened my eyes to not only is football, kind of it's a merry-go-round. It's here, it's gone tomorrow. But I mean, life is here today, can be gone tomorrow. And it was a real wake-up call, honestly. And I just felt like I needed to not sit and wait around for things to come to me. That year put me in a different gear to just try to get after it. And I knew I was halfway wanting to do this. I heard people say, oh, you'd be great at it. And I did enjoy doing it. Like, I'd hop on podcasts or talk football with people, or, the locker room debates. And I would enjoy watching football from that perspective. But I think that year it was like, all right, we're doing this. And I had an opportunity to actually do an Iowa football podcast. And I just said, screw it. I knew nothing about filming a podcast, of preparing for a podcast. I didn't know anything about it, but I was just like, well, I'm doing it. It is what it is we're going to do it. This is what we're doing. And I just didn't want to sit around and wait for something to come to me. I just was in extreme attack mode that year from that point on. And I've gotten my foot in the door, and there's no going back.
But you are doing it, though. So I'm just saying, here's the thing. And look, I'm not Greg Olson by no stretch of the imagination. But when it comes to this thing, I used to work for ESPN Radio. And before I got into radio, like you, this is what you really need. And I'm pretty sure you got this. You need somebody in your corner that can tell you the truth. You know how you got a friend, everybody, 100 people gonna say, great job, Nick. And he gonna say, nah, dude, the person that tells you the truth is the person that really wants to see you grow. When I got into this business, a dude by the name of BJ Bennett, when everybody go, good job, man, when they walk around the corner, they're like, dude, he'll be like, dude, what was that? Only because he go, do you want to do this? Because, Dominic, you like me, you don't want to do it, you want to do it. Like, I want to do it. Like, and I know that being a former tight end, a former athlete, athletes, I tell Smitty all the time, we ain't rap tight. We play football for it. You cannot be rap tight to play football, the kind of stuff we have to do. There are plays that coming through that huddle, you're like, what? And you got to run out there and execute it. And that might be, they might be putting you into that blue tent because you might not come get up. But what I get from you is you saying, look, I'm gonna give it all I got. And let me say this, man, you good at what you're doing. Podcasting is the new medium. Meaning, I don't know the last time I turned on the radio station. I used to be on the radio. I know they got all these other shows, but when you'll hear. I mean, Smitty got, what's his name, Smitty, who read your what, Albert Breer? You muted.
Yeah, Albert Breer. He does a video mailbag every week, and I asked a question about Bryce Young, and he got on the show. So.
But Dominique, but let me say this though. I'm gonna say this, and I mean it humbly. You start doing this, people gonna know who you are. So now, when you walk around Nashville, I don't know where you shop at, the guy staring at you, he's staring at you because he want to say, oh, so that's how you feel? Because they look at what we say as what Dominique said, that the Hawkeyes got a shot to be real good. They not realizing, hey, man, I didn't tell you to bet on my picks. I lost money. Whoa. I didn't tell you to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
But from one podcast and content creator to another one, man, just jump on these microphones, jump behind these cameras. Don't take yourself too seriously. Stand on what you say. And unfortunately, we can't address the trolls because they being birthed every day. Everybody got an opinion now.
Right.
And if you want to go back and forth with the trolls, it makes for a lot of fun. It's just they won't stop asking questions. And it's going to get personal real quick. Like, oh, I ain't like you did that. I said, well, I didn't think you was that good in high school. I'm like, did you know what high school I went to? Yeah, I played against you. I'm like, okay. Like, I didn't say I was a Hall of Fame tight end, but guess what? One down in the NFL or 20 seasons, you did it. You made it. Right. So, man, keep doing what you're doing, man. I mean, I appreciate Greg hollering at you, but, man, you're right. There is no remedy. There is no secret sauce. Mm-hmm. I mean, Joe Rogan got everybody buying picnic tables, sitting in the dark room. I don't know where this dude do his podcast at, but the lighting is not good. And they sit across this table, and I'm like, are they talking about space? Are they talking about aliens? But people listen, and I'm not knocking it. So, man, just keep doing what you're doing, man. And like I say, the same way you came on here for us, hey, man, anything you need us for, come through, man. We all, this your new team right here. Your new team is podcasters. So we share the wealth over here. Like I said, me and Smitty, we already at 108 or whatever it is. It shocks me every time, I look at that little logo and but it ain't no remedy. And there are bad podcasters, but to be a good podcast, you need one thing. That's just consistency. Just be consistent with it. And a lot of weirdos out there. I mean, it just is, man. It's just, and unfortunately, they say the weirdest things. Like, they'll come up to you and say, something like, "Oh, so you think TJ Hawkins is gonna be good?" And you get ready to talk, and they just keep walking. Like, "Sir, oh my God."
Yeah, because they just want to be heard. They just want to be heard. That's really all it is these days. There's so many more outlets. Not everybody wants to be heard, but I already get it as it is now. Because being a Midwest guy in Nashville, it's SEC country down here, and I'm Big Ten through and through. So I gotta be 20 versus 1, standing on Big Ten side. Don't care. Last 3 championships, how about it? Don't care. Still gonna argue it. I had an argument the other day about if Alabama would have beat Penn State last year. I said no, they sure wouldn't have. You know why? Because Penn State had Indiana sweating. Indiana was all the way home at halftime. They was chilling. Shoulder pads untied, unbuckled versus Alabama. So what you mean? So I stand 10 toes on everything I say down here. Trust me.
You got any boots yet? You got any cowboy hats?
I got some boots.
I was gonna get some boots. I mean, like I said, I'm from Georgia, went to college at the University of Florida, and I got drafted by the Titans. When I get there, I don't really understand. So I walk in there and I go, yo, these boots say $1,500. And the guy goes, those are on sale. These are on sale for $50. And then I go and try to get a cowboy hat. I go, this hat costs $2,500. He goes, do you know who brand that is? I say, it better be Jesus. $2,500. Right. I didn't understand, like, that's real ostrich, or that's real. I said, listen to me. I wear Jordans. You know what I'm saying? I wear Air Force Ones. And he was like, nah. But Nashville is a beautiful city outside of Central Time. That messed me up when I first got there. But Nashville is a beautiful city, man, because it's right there, big airport. Mm-hmm. City, it's country, but it's got the downtown. Yeah. I would try to tell Smitty, Broadway is one side of the street. West End that's the same street, by the way.
I've been to Broadway. I've been to Broadway. I've been to Broadway.
Well, Broadway is one. So if you tell somebody I'm on Broadway and they tell you they're on West End, y'all on the same street. Y'all just on different sides, which is about as weird. It ain't no curve. It's one street. Vanderbilt, if I'm not mistaken, is on the West End side. Mm-hmm. I think Broadway is closer to the stadium. But if I can, So
you're correct. There's literally a light where it says Broadway, West End, and it's the same light. But it's on the same street.
Facts.
It's crazy. Broadway is its own beast, but I love Nashville. I think to tight end I got 2 pairs of boots now, but then you got to break them hoes in, or else I'm about to say you got to get an outfit to go with them bad. Listen,
And make sure the jeans are, they don't got to be snug. They could be a little skinny. They don't got to be snug. I don't got to see your veins in your quads or your hamstring.
Yeah, these boys. Let me not even get started on what these boys be out here wearing. Maybe it's tragic. It's tragic, but yeah, they be doing it big out here.
It is tragic, but that Nashville, Sweats Barbecue, Monell's. I'm trying to think of places, man. When I was there. Nashville has gotten very chic-ish now, isn't it? Because they get that new stadium, that dome.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they had a bunch of.
I was there in 2019.
They got a bunch of LA people moving here, so they bring in the LA vibe. So everything is $25 a drink now. So it's
you in there like this, bro? Listen, you hit them with that. I'm not a local, but I live here, bro. I'm not giving you 25. You know what?
Yeah,
I'm not going to argue with you. I'll just do what I do college rules. I'll get right at home with a couple of homies, and I come up here. I cannot go home knowing I paid $100 for 4 drinks. I'm not even drinking, but I
can't do it. Can't do it. Where I grew up, you could get drunk for $25. In Des Moines, don't bring you don't need more than 40, and that's eating food at 2 a.m. too. Like that covers everything, and you can buy round of shots for everybody. $40 for the whole night. Out here, $40. That's a drink and a shot.
That's parking.
All right, let's keep it moving. Before we get into some of the headlines from today, that Dominique, you might have heard a guy named A.J. Brown, Myles, Garrett. You might have heard of those guys. Before we get into that, give us kind of some behind the scenes insight of your time at the NFL Broadcasting Boot Camp. You went there, you experienced that. Obviously, you can tell us obviously your experience and what you learned, but what is something that people may not know about that if they're just listening on a podcast or just know something about just very basic thing about the broadcast boot camp that you think our listeners would enjoy hearing?
It was honestly one of the most helpful things I've ever been to, because like I was saying earlier, there's not much direction with this. It's kind of just get reps, and that was hands-on training from the pros, from people who really do this for real. And they gave you an opportunity to not only learn from them, but you get reps, live reps, and then they coach you on your rep, and then you get to go back and critique yourself and do another live rep. That being in the moment, being in the I guess putting in the fire, that was so helpful for me, because I'm hands-on learner. Let me do it. Tell me what I did wrong or how I could do it better, and then I can do it better, critique myself from there. That's what was so helpful for me, being coached right in the moment versus sending it to somebody, be like, hey, check out my reel, and them telling me oh, I thought this was nice, but you could have done this. That's helpful, but being coached in the moment it was so helpful. It was so eye-opening for me, just being able to learn from some of the best people on how to do the radio shows, because we did a live rep of radio game, we did a live rep of TV game, and then a live rep of podcast, and then a live rep of studio analyst. When you got 2 reps of everything, and then somebody would critique you, and then you would go back in to do another live rep. So actually being critiqued on the spot, that I could tell the difference between my first rep and my second rep every single time. Just the confidence, the way that I was talking, implementing the coaching that they gave me. I literally asked them, so we coming back tomorrow? Are we going to keep doing this? Because this is what I need. I need those reps. I want reps. I'm texting everybody bro, give me any reps, any opportunities you can. This is what I want. I want to keep going. I want to keep working at this and continue to get better. So it was definitely one of the best experiences I've been through, and I'm hoping to do the same thing at the end of this June in Chicago.
Which one you like the most? You said radio shows, TV, podcasts, studio analyst. Was it one that stood out more than others?
I think the studio one for me definitely stood out, because it was just kind of like this, but a little bit more buttoned up, because you're in suit and tie, but it was more conversational. We got to go back and forth a little bit. We had kind of a moderator to, lead us through the conversation, through the topics. But as far as the whole thing, it was more so just back and forth and being able to get your ideas out, a little bit like a debate show, not necessarily as dramatic as like the First Takes, but like it's how they do it in the studio. So that was nice as far as like where I felt the most comfortable. I think surprisingly the hardest one was the radio show. And I think the obvious is the fact that they can't see the game. So that makes it I have to be 3 times as descriptive as I need to be in studio. So I guess really understanding how descriptive I needed to be, I was like, man, this is actually kind of hard. Like, this is tough. Like, you really need to be specific. You really have to paint this picture because they really can't see anything. They're helping me. They're hoping that I paint this picture that they're driving in their car and they can see exactly what I'm talking about. So that one was like the most eye-opening of like, wow, like this one's hard. This is a lot harder than I thought it would be.
The theater of the mind. Radio is, think about that. I was told radio is theater of the mind, but you are the orchestrator. So when you hear people on the radio now and they're doing, it's almost like they're going, dude, how are they doing? That is a art to be able to, and with all these things going on, which I tell Smitty all the time, and you can validate this. I mean, people think, hey man, I'm a podcaster, I can do radio. It's not the same.
No, it's
radio,
not.
you got a time clock, and things are happening real quick, and you got to be quick. Podcasting, and nothing against podcasting, I'm a podcaster, but podcasting is, hey man, live shows are different, but it ain't no pressure because they ain't just ran a play, or they ain't just called a TV timeout, or you got to be ready. So I'm happy that you got them reps, man. But I'm happy at the fact that you got feedback to apply. Hey man, we're gonna do it again. And you go in there and go, is that me? Like, yeah, that's this is the first one. This is the second. This is the first one. Yeah, I never did the NFL broadcast boot camp, but I've heard some great things from it. And I've worked with a lot of people that went through it. So man, congratulations. Hopefully you get a chance to go to Chicago. But I'm telling you, I know, like I said, I am not an expert at anything. My wife will tell you that. But I will say this. Man, Emmanuel Acho is a really, really good person. When Emmanuel Acho, he breaks down games, that he is in his house. Now, that's a different level of dedication. I did not do that. But when he's sitting there in front of his TV, which, hey, man, he got speakeasy and all this other stuff. So, yeah, man, I believe that it's whatever you want to do, how you want to do it. Look, if you're going back and forth with SEC fans in Nashville about Big Ten, you could do this, brother. You gonna be all right.
Yeah.
You're gonna be okay. Promise you that.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping that because the one in Chicago is the Big Ten one. So obviously that would be right up my alley. I love Big Ten football. I love watching Big Ten football. Obviously, I get my reps in here arguing with people nonstop about Big Ten football. So it's already in my blood. So yeah, no, I'm just like you said. I'm a grinder. I want to keep working. I want this. I want to be able to do this, and that's what I told him when we were at the boot camp. I'm like, any experience, any opportunities, send them my way. Like I'm not going to say no because I want those reps. I'm hungry to get after it. Just like with football, like I wanted that, and when I got it, there was no telling me no, that this isn't the option or this isn't where I was going. And that's the same mindset I'm carrying over to this. Is like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've decided that I'm doing. This is what I put my energy and effort into. You see, I got the podcast gear. I got the light. This is what we're doing. It is what we're doing. I don't really care what anybody has to say. Like you said, people are gonna, you weren't that good of a tight end. You were, and I was better than you. So what does that mean?
Those are fans though. And listen, here's the thing though. Here's the thing though, Dominique. You don't know pain, sir. I'm a Falcons fan. You don't know pain. You don't know pain for real. I'm a Falcons fan. I ain't no pain. I'm just listen. I don't who you. Wait a minute. Hold on. You from Charlotte? Are you allowed to not be? I know who you played for. Are you still a fan? Are you a Panthers fan?
I grew up a Panthers fan, so
that's it. There ain't no switching over.
I grew up a Panthers fan. I was kind of weird when you're in the league. I'm like, am I supposed to cheer for a different team? I still watch the Panthers. I watch the Panthers and the Packers the most, I'd say. But
I went.
I'll have to say a Super Bowl 50 broke my heart. That's all I know.
Oh gosh, let's not go back there. Let's not go back there. As a Panthers,
it wasn't worse than 28-3. No. It ain't worse than that.
It was not worse than that, but it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Though I was in Lambeau last November for the walk-off, Dominic. So that was amazing this past season for Carolina, getting that walk-off win in Lambeau. Being there was my first time in Lambeau, and just seeing that place and experiencing the Midwest like that for the first time, and that was so glorious. But let's get into some of the headlines from today. Your thoughts as a player around the league, and just again for our fans who, the NFL is a business, and there's money aspect to it from the players aspect, and then there's the team aspect as well. So let's go Myles Garrett first. Myles Garrett traded today from the Cleveland Browns to the LA Rams for a 2027 first-round pick, 2028 second-round pick, and a 2029 third-round pick. And in return, Cleveland gets Jared Verse in the deal. It was reported that Jared Verse had to be part of the deal for the Cleveland Browns to ship Myles Garrett to the Rams. So your thoughts, Ben and Dominique, as players in the league, on this blockbuster trade that went down today, sending Garrett to the Rams and then Verse back to the Browns?
You go first, Nate.
My first thought was that it was fake, because I was like, ain't no way the Browns just decidingly got worse just because you gave away your best player. And then I saw the whole thing and I was like, Jared Verse is absolutely great. He's a young talent. He's going to be one of the best defensive players in this league for years to come, the way that he's playing and the way that he plays the game. But I think you could tell that the Rams are looking for that success now. They got Stafford back for a year. They got Devontae Adams. They got, they add this to their defense. I think they're trying to win right now. I think that's their mentality, is they've been knocking on the door. Obviously, they won back in, what was that, 21?
21, yeah.
So I think they're trying to get after it now. They've been so close so many years, and they've always put forth a good outfit. But I think that this move is really screaming we want to win right now. They realize that they only have Matt Stafford for maybe next year, maybe the year after that, with his back injury, with him getting up in age. You understand football is a ticking time bomb. At some point, you got to stop playing. So I think they realize that they have the team right now. They have the talents right now, especially at quarterback, which you don't get a lot of MVP. They're not growing MVPs on trees anywhere. So they understand they have an MVP caliber quarterback who's getting up there in age. So what do we need to do? We need to win right now while we got them. So I think that's really their mindset with taking this Hail Mary of going to get a defender like Myles Garrett.
I think it's really, really simple. Going back to 2021, they're trying to mirror that team. You take out Cooper Kupp, you add in Puka Nacua, right? You take out Odell Beckham Jr., you got Devontae Adams. You still got Matthew Stafford. They had this guy by the name of Aaron Donald, who was the best defensive player in football. Now you get a Myles Garrett. You go from a Jalen Ramsey to a McDuffie, right? Coming over from Kansas City. Sean McVay is saying, look, I got the reigning regular season MVP. He ain't played none in the preseason of 2025. 2026. He didn't play at all last year, and you saw the season that he had. If Myles Garrett don't put us over the top, nothing will. So I was like, unique. When I first saw it, I'm rebooting my phone. Wait. They got rid of, but this is why I think Cleveland really got rid of Myles Garrett. I still got a lot of money in that Deshaun Watson contract, and I'm paying Myles Garrett like a quarterback. I can't sign a lot of players with two guys taking up that much money in the cap. And Dominic, you know this too. While I love Myles and he breaking records, we're still losing. We're not winning anything. Right. We're still bottom feeders in the AFC North. We still can't beat the Ravens. We still probably not gonna beat Pittsburgh. We probably won't beat Cincinnati. And we paying a guy $50 million. We got to free up some money. So they was able. Now Javon, him coming over. Jared Verse coming over. I think he's from that Cleveland area. I think he's from that Ohio area, and he gets to, they're probably going to reward him with a big contract after a year, the type of thing. But it is the league, and if you are Cleveland, they're saying, okay, dude, we need players. We got to be able to get players in here. Now, are the players going to want to play with Deshaun, or are they going to want to play with Shador? That's yet to be seen. Because with Deshaun, you know how it is. You've been in the league. I paid the quarterback how much? Oh, he started. What do you mean? I'm giving him $60 million? No, he's running out there. What do you mean? So I don't know how well Deshaun is going to play because you haven't seen him, in a long. No, you ain't seen Deshaun Watson play football in like 4 years.
Yeah.
I think he's only played like 16 games since he's been in Cleveland, but that contract is gonna definitely warrant that. But I was surprised. I wasn't shocked. I was like, and let's face it, it is Cleveland. This is the same Cleveland Browns team that drafted Travis Hunter. They traded him. Traded out that pick to give it to Jacksonville. That's how Travis Hunter became. So it is Cleveland. I don't want to give it too much, but before I even get to AJ Brown, Odell Beckham Jr., 33 years old, re-signed by the Giants. I don't know what color hair he's gonna have come game day. Last time Odell Beckham was really, really good, the whole top of his head was blonde. It's been many moons since then. How do you like the pickup of him and Juju Smith-Schuster? And I want to say they got Barrios from Houston. They go and get 3 veteran receivers all on 1-year deals. How do you look at that compared, him in a wide receiver room that got guys like Malik Nabers?
I think a lot of that is kind of similar to the Devontae Adams to Puka Nacua. Like, you want to bring in a veteran presence for your young receiver to try to, learn from him. Obviously, like you said, the last time that he was playing at that Pro Bowl, all-pro level was, the blonde hair was in effect. And you saw every 16-year-old kid walking around with blonde hair and the side of their head shaved. So, but I think a lot of it is because they understand who Odell Beckham Jr. is as a receiver and how that's going to be able to affect their receiver room as well as their offense. Like, obviously, he's not the OBJ that we all once knew and loved and saw in every commercial, but he's still a great receiver, a great athlete, and he's still got a lot of football played under his belt. So, like, that's going to help somebody like Malik Nabers, who is coming off an injury. Who knows that better than OBJ to come off an injury and try to battle back? Who knows what it's like to play under the New York Giants lights and do well better than OBJ. So I feel like that's a lot of that. Now, the Juju thing, I don't really understand that one, just because it's like I think those two play similar positions. So it's like, is Juju going to be your X? Is that going to be your guy who's going to take the top off of a defense? I don't really see that happening. They're both more of like either a Z receiver, a lot of slants, or F receiver, trying to get up the seams and get past safeties and linebackers. So I didn't really understand that one, especially with the addition to Braxton Berrios. Now you have like a bottleneck situation where you got 4 of the same receivers trying to play in the same. But again, I'm not a GM, so what do I know? But I think the biggest thing for OBJ is we can bring in a guy who's not only going to help us on offense, but he's going to help our younger guys and help bring them along to make them even better as football players.
Smitty, what are your thoughts on Garrett? Myles Garrett and obviously OBJ and Juju Smith both going to the Giants, and Braxton Berrios.
You forgot Russell Wilson going to CBS as well.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, he want to be able to watch he want to be able to go to his wife's concerts. He can't do both. I can't play and go to Sierra concerts.
So I think that's a good move for Russell. I think he's going to have success. He has the personality to succeed in the role that they're putting him in at CBS, and he knows just what to say to kind of get the audience engaged. He's gonna have to show a little more personality as far as like we don't need fluff, we need realness. So
you don't want the Denver Russell Wilson?
No, we need Seattle. We need Seattle Russ. That's what we need. Honestly, the Giants moves don't really move me all that much. I mean, OBJ is a nice story being back in New York and all, but at the end of the day, he's 33, 34, something like that. And is he going to get injured again? I mean, he's old now for a receiver. So it's a nice story, but I'm just waiting to see what happens with this New York receiving core. Malik Nabers had that second procedure. Scatterboo and Dart are unproven, so we'll see. Juju Smith-Schuster, again, he's also a little older as well for a receiver. So we'll see what happens. Harbaugh is trying to stamp his print there in New York. But Garrett, like Dominic said, that gives the Rams this. They were already the Super Bowl favorites, in my opinion, in the NFC. This just kind of solidified it, really, at the end of the day. I mean, and personally, Byron Young is really good on the other edge. People don't talk about him a lot with Jared Verse there. But Byron Young is really good. So him on one side, Garrett on the other side is going to wreak havoc there with Fisk and Turner there in LA. So it's exciting times to be a Rams fan, in my opinion. I'm excited to watch this team, and Garrett is just for the Panthers in week 3. They don't got to face Cleveland anymore with Garrett, so that's also a win from that perspective. But then, gentlemen, the worst kept secret had to be A.J. Brown going to the Patriots from the Eagles' 2028 first-round pick. Was technically official today, but we all pretty much knew that was going to happen for a while. So here's the question I want to know. Okay, I get it. Like, we all knew that was going to happen, but what is the rationale? And I did not play in the NFL, so I can't speak to this like you guys can. What is the rationale to say, okay, the Eagles objectively got worse today? They brought in Devontae Wicks. They brought in Malachi Lemon, draft pick. And they're trying to get some other people to kind of replace him, in so many words and pieces. But what's the rationale for the Eagles to do this, though, and think they're going to be better long term?
Why you think the Eagles? Well, I think it's simple. I mean, your production ain't good enough for you to act the way you act. I mean, A.J. Brown's a good receiver now. Make no mistake about it. But it's starting to be something either during the year or in offseason. 2 years ago, it was him and Nick Sirianni and Jalen. This year, and then he reading books on the sideline, right? Then this year, they were trying to force feed A.J. Brown, and every time they force fed him. But this is about one game. Did you see him in the playoffs? He kept asking for the ball, and when they gave it to him, look, A.J. Brown is a really good receiver, but the A.J. Brown situation to Mike Vrabel is just like Harbaugh and Odell Beckham. They trying to redo something. One of them, he was over there with the Ravens with Harbaugh, didn't work out. Vrabel didn't think A.J. Brown was that good when he was a head coach with the Titans. A.J. Brown wanted $20 million. Mike Vrabel wanted $17 million. He shipped him off to the Eagles. Now they're trying to get it back. But what this is about is this. Every good quarterback has to have a number one, a bona fide number one. Not because I get paid the most. Who's the number one receiver right now? For New England, they don't have one. They got a receiver that don't like wearing shoes. No, that's not gonna work. For me though, the Eagles are trying to build a culture, and you can't do that with a player that bickers all the time. And A.J. Brown is gonna find something. A.J. Brown was going on the podcast he's on it with Gronk and Edelman. Come on, man. And they almost had to do this, but I don't think they got worse, because this is just me, and I could be wrong. As long as Jalen Hurts is the quarterback for the Eagles, and how he play, it ain't cute, it ain't sexy, but he don't turn the ball over. He's gonna win games, and he's gonna take care of the football. And that's without Saquon Barkley having 2,000 yards their second year last year. It's second year with the Eagles. I think they're gonna be just fine, man. I mean, the NFL is one of these businesses where when your behavior don't supersede your production, they got to make a decision. And that's kind of A.J. Brown is too good of a player to let go. But you know what they're saying? What is he gonna do next? Because he's done something, and I want to be answering questions about the Giants and the Commanders and the Cowboys. Not what A.J. Brown just said. He just went dark on X. He unfollowed you, man. I'm a grown man.
Thank you for humoring me. I agree with the decision. I just wanted to make sure the people who may be confused or may not know why the Eagles were doing this. So I thank you for that breakdown.
I was going to say I agree, because it's funny, because at the boot camp, that was one of the questions they asked us as like a in the studio section of should they trade A.J. Brown, and I said yeah, because like you said, the off the field stuff became the biggest headline. And we're in the middle of the season. We talking about the stuff that's going on the sideline. We talking about the stuff that's going on in the meeting rooms, the locker room. Like, we should be talking about football. We're over here talking about dudes reading on the sideline, dudes bickering on the sideline, head coach and receiver. But like, it's just too much of a distraction. Like, too many years in a row. Like, after a certain point, it gets to too much strife, too much back and forth, where it really does take a detriment to your team and to the camaraderie, the chemistry of your offense. If you constantly have to talk about, you constantly turn on the TV and you seeing people talking about what A.J. Brown and the coach, if they're going back and forth, if A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts actually like each other, it's like, shoot, we came here to play football. is this ESPN or is this TMZ? Like, what are we talking about? So like after a certain point, you gotta just, I equated it to like the Stephon Diggs situation where let's trade him and get him to somewhere where it's good for him and trade him so that it's better for us as well, so that we both can win. It's a win-win situation. You're off to a team that plays well, and we can finally get back to worrying and focusing about football. And you mentioned Jalen Hurts. I mean, I went to Iowa. I know all about ugly, demonstrative football that's just ground and pound, tush push. I understand that. That's the way that they like to play. That's Eagles team as a whole. So when you have that as a whole, but one guy stands out and he's like, no, I want the ball 12, 13 times a game, that friction is just going to only get worse as time goes on. So I literally knew it was coming. I just had an argument with one of my Eagle diehard friends that he was going to happen. He goes, nope, it's not going to. I literally texted him in the morning. I was like, I'll take that apology at any time if you don't mind, because I told you it was going to happen. But I knew it was going to happen. We all knew, like you said, the worst kept secret. But I think both teams got better. They both, the Eagles and the Patriots got better today, and I think that it should have happened a while ago based on the energy that was coming out of that locker room.
Ben, before you go, since we're sticking on the Patriots for a second, I have to ask this question. The Vrabel stuff that's happened, I'm not going to ask you about that. But if you were a player on the Patriots right now, what do you think the mentality of that team is going to be this year? You know, you lost the Super Bowl. You've had obviously the Vrabel stuff that has happened, and obviously well documented. What do you think the message is going into this season, going off that Super Bowl, and then obviously with the off the field stuff that's happened from their head coach?
No excuses. Be a pro. Don't fall off. No one outside of Foxborough saw the Patriots doing what they did last year. You don't want to, because if any, now I'm not saying they got to go to the Super Bowl, but if they fall off, you know what they're going to blame them. Football is the easiest sport to predict when things go bad. They're going to start the same. It's like a coach. The same reason why they hire you will be the same reason why they fire you. They don't even switch it up. Man, we love his energy. I think his energy is a little bit when they let you go. Mike Vrabel, if Mike Vrabel did not have the respect of Mr. Kraft, I think he would be gone. Because any other coach, Mike Vrabel doesn't have a pedigree as a coach with New England, even though they're coming off a Super Bowl loss. That's a lot. And you just brought in a player that comes with a lot of baggage. Oh, A.J. Brown comes with a lot. You're going to need those players to have your back. Because the better you are as a team, the less the noise is. And the worse you are, because everybody can read minds now. Oh man, the reason why they're losing is because of that. No, for New England is just like the Boston Celtics. You either love them or you hate them. And most people can't. They are the evil empire of the AFC. The evil empire of the NFC, that would be the Cowboys, right? People do not like the Patriots. I don't know why, but they don't. And Mike Vrabel made it real easy to dislike them now. And that's not even trying to get into everything that happened. I ain't no marriage counselor. I ain't trying to get into nobody's personal business. But Dominique, you know this. When you make your private life public, that's on you. You open up that door, not me. So for the Patriots, no excuses. Go out there and compete and try to beat Buffalo. Because if they look like bottom feeders, because like we always say, Smitty, there really isn't a difference between third and fourth place in a division. It really isn't. I don't care what we won 10 games. So for New England, they better do it for their coach. Because if it gets bad, I mean, Robert Kraft, the fact that Mike Vrabel going to be the head coach starting the season lets you know that certain people get a lot more leeway than others. But they're going to have to win, and they're going to have to win early because people keep talking about A.J. Brown out. Drake, man, he didn't look good in the postseason, and he did not look good in the Super Bowl. And I know that the guy on the other side used to see ghosts when he was in New York. I don't know what Drake May is saying, but he ain't seeing his receivers. And I don't know what's gonna happen, but hey man, they better win some games. I know that. But just like I'm not a team. So, yeah.
Did you have any thoughts, Dominic, on the Patriots?
Yeah, I think that mentality is got to be, we got to go back. We honestly played they played terribly in the Super Bowl. The best player that played on their team was Christian Gonzalez. Besides him, I mean, the defense showed up, yeah, but their offense just all in. Yeah, a lot of it had to do with Drake May not playing at his best at all in the playoffs. I think the mentality has got to be we got to go back. Not only do we have to make the playoffs, we have to win the division. You got to go back to the Super Bowl. And otherwise, like you said, Ben, it's going to be all the other antics. That's what's going to be highlighted. That's what's going to be talked about. Now we got to make the tough decisions. We got to have those uncomfortable conversations in the offseason about what needs to be happening because, shoot, if we don't put up the numbers that we need to be, well, shoot, we can't hide things under the rug like we used to. You know, winning does a lot of things. Winning blinds a lot of eyes. When you winning, people don't care. People don't see it. Oh, you did this? Didn't see it. I saw them 12 wins, though. Oh, you did that? Didn't see it. I saw us go to the Super Bowl, though. When you win, you get away with a lot of stuff. So, like, if that winning stops, now you got to have those unfortunate, uncomfortable conversations, some moves here, some replacements there, if you're not going to do what you have to do and do what your first job is, and that's to win football games. So I think the mindset for them in that locker room is let's not have this be a circus, and let's win some football games, try to get back to the Super Bowl any way that they can.
Well, Dominique Dafney has been our guest today here on Winning the Division. Dominique, as we wind down, and again, you've been so great with your time. Thanks for coming on with us, and it's been a pleasure. What are some things that you're doing right now in the off season that people can go follow, people can go read up and catch up on? Obviously, we know you're broadcasting stuff, but what are some things that you're doing? Anything you have coming up or projects you'd like to share with us?
Right now, just getting ready for this. I got another broadcast boot camp in Chicago at the end of June, so I'll be getting ready for that. I've been doing a tight end Tuesday series. I started it this January, just highlighting one tight end every week, and their performance, how they did well. I did that at the start of the January. I did it all the way to the Super Bowl. And then after that, I did a path to the draft, highlighting one tight end every week from college who's entering the draft this year. Going to pick that back up, obviously, as the season starts, as OTA or as minicamp or as actual camp, fall camp, preseason start. I'll pick that back up once football starts going around. And like I said, just keep showing love to the position, keep showing love to those tight ends, and keep picking it up where I left it off.
I like that tight end Tuesdays. I like that path to the draft. Smitty, I'll be trying to tell you, man. If people be hating on the tight ends, man. Well, listen, we are asked to do everything, and I get it now. You know, you got Trey McBride and George Kittles. They getting the love. You got aliens out there like Kyle Pitts. You got mutants coming to the league like Sadiq. He got to get past that hernia surgery. I ain't never seen nothing like it. Maybe a little Vernon Davis. These tight ends running 4.3s. I don't know where they do that at. I mean, they do it at SC. They do it at Maryland. I don't know where they do that at. But Dominique, before I let you out of here, I mean, you mentioned you going to the broadcast boot camp up there in the Chi-Town. When it comes to you, what I like to ask is, man, what do you see yourself in this business? Because obviously, you can do the podcasting. Do you see yourself being a hybrid? The reason why I say hybrid is nowadays podcast is almost built into whatever else you do. It's like you got to have. So, do you see yourself being a podcaster, even if you get the TV job or the analyst job?
Absolutely, because I think, like you brought up Emmanuel Acho, I mean that's kind of your own microphone. The podcasting world is, yes, people work for Big Ten Network or ESPN or this, that. But when you get on your podcast, you get to speak your own mind. Not only do you get to cover the topics you want, but you get to give out your perspective. And that's where you really get to dive in on stuff. Like when you're on, like I said, First Take, you get 90 seconds maybe to really speak your mind. But when you're in your own podcast, we talk for 90 minutes if you want to, and really get to dive in on topics. So yeah, I'll definitely think about doing that. But I mean, I've vision boarded where I want to go with this, and I say it to myself every day. Like I want to start with Big Ten Network 5 years from now, and I want to be a studio analyst calling games on the weekend. And then 10 years, 15 years from now, I want to be the next Kirk Herbstreit. the freelance contractor. You know, he works for ESPN, he works for Amazon Prime. He kind of does his own thing, and he really gets to spread his wings and really gets to maneuver around and show his true love for football, not just college, not just NFL, but you know, that's really what I want to go with this and just spread knowledge. I love to tell stories. I love the storytelling of part of broadcasting and studio analysts. I think that's my gift, is telling stories and being able to connect people that aren't normally connected, connect people to the world of football, connect people outside of this realm of athletes that they never even understood. But that's my thing. I love to tell stories. I love to really connect with people, and that's what I'm going to do and use it on this platform of broadcasting.
Kirk Herbstreit, you live in Nashville.
I know.
That's true.
I don't know how to go about it, but I mean, you can't just get his address, and I'm pretty sure he got it gated.
I've DM'd him a couple times.
I'm just saying, it's just one of those things. I will say this: anybody that enters the podcasting world, we got access to. It's different because the mystique of TV has kind of lost that, because they over here doing the podcast and the content creation. So even they want to be able to, take the tie off, take the suit off, and say, hey, Kirk Herbstreit got everybody in the world trying to, what he got, golden Labrador retrievers or whatever he got. You know what I'm saying? So, hey man, listen, from one tight end to the next, man, from one content creator to the next, whatever you want to do not put pressure on it. There is no such thing as, I love the 5-year, 10-year, man, take it day by day, because it's gonna come sooner than you think. You know what you're doing. You know what you want to say. Just say it. Say what you're gonna say. Don't turn into screaming Smith. You got to scream all the time. You know what I'm saying? But just know this: when you on these platforms long enough, it's gonna be some youngers out there saying, "Man, I'm trying to be the next Dominique Dafney," because it happens just like that. Just be ready to do for them what Greg Olsen did for you. Because when they pull you to the side, just tell them, get the reps, man. Start slow. I said, listen, most people don't want to start anything because they don't want to start from the bottom. Don't be most people. You don't want to jump out there. Yeah, you got certain people get to jump out there. A quarterback that used to play for Dallas that left, that Dak stepped in, and now he get to go there, next to, some of the big guys. But, I'm happy for him. I'm just saying.
I thought you were going to say a different name of somebody who played for one of the teams we was just talking about.
But no. Hold on. I didn't get a chance to ask you. I got to ask this, though. Colts, the Packers, the Broncos, the Colts again, the Bucs, and the Panthers. You played with Phillip Rivers, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan, Sam Ellinger, Nick Foles, Baker Mayfield, Bryce Young. Out of all those guys, who was the guy that you was like, this dude right here, he nice? Not saying none of all those guys aren't, but out of Bryce, Baker Mayfield, Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Phillip Rivers, which one of those guys stood out the most to you?
I wish I could show you on the camera. That's my answer.
Mr. Aaron.
Mr. Aaron Rodgers, Mr. Jordan Love. Them two. Nice. And I always tell the story of my first practice in Green Bay. I'm talking about it was just pat and go. Him and 12 and Devontae Adams. I'm talking about, I was sitting back there like this, like, oh my goodness. And he's just throwing it, not even looking. Devontae catching it behind his back. I'm like, oh yeah, they different out here. They different. And I was just like, it was literally a moment where you had to take a second. And I was like, bro, that's really Aaron Rodgers right there throwing the football. And we're on the same team. I had to take my second and just be like, that's a Hall of Famer. And then see Devontae Adams out there. That's another one right there. And then I had to, step back and get my rep in. But I was just seeing him throw the football, seeing the way he prepares for games, and it gets the extra stuff, the Aaron Rodgers stuff that normally gets talked about. It overshadows how much of a football mind he really has. And I think that's one thing that is really slept on with him, is like everyone talks about Tom Brady is mental game. Aaron Rodgers got that too, where he'll bring a play from 12 years ago and talk about it in meetings, and we're all sitting there like, bro, I was in middle school when you're talking about what you're talking about. I have no idea what? Oh yeah, you remember this play back in I'm like, we're all sitting there like it, but it's it's him. He loves the game of football. The way he preps for football, he knows every defense. He knows every coach, what their defense is. He knows every blitz. There's not many things on the football field he hasn't seen. So that's one of the guys. I honestly equate the fact that I was in the league for 6 years to that 3 years in Green Bay. If the stuff I didn't learn if I didn't learn the things I learned in Green Bay, I would not have been in the league for 6 years. There's no way. I got to be with Mercedes Lewis, Rob Tunyon, learn from Matt LaFleur, learn from all these great football minds. And like I took that and ran with it, because you talk about transition. I was the receiver my whole life. I didn't put my hand in the dirt not one time. So I didn't know what a 9 tech was, what a 6 tech. I had no idea what any of that stuff was my rookie year. None of it. Didn't know fronts, over front, under front. I had no idea. I could read a coverage, but as far as like where the defense is at, no idea what it was. But they actually sat me down and taught me from the bottom to the top everything I needed to know about being a tight end. So if it wasn't for them that time in Green Bay, there's no way I would have lasted as long as I did in the league.
The Godfather, Mercedes Lewis. I mean, I don't know if anybody's played longer than him, man. I mean, but I'm super duper proud. UCLA boy. So still,
Oh, yeah.
Did he drive a Mercedes? Did he have a Mercedes?
He had a Range Rover, I want to say.
There you go.
I'm just saying, man. Yeah,
I always told him the funny story of we were teammates. My dad actually went to UCLA too, play basketball. So they actually knew similar people. But I was telling him, I'm like, Sadie's, I want to tell you, like the first football NFL game I ever went to, you were playing in Jacksonville. It was like 2008. You were playing against the Raiders. I think like Marvin Sapp got kicked out of the game for fighting. And he goes, I remember that game, and you just made me feel so old. So I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm about to say, man. Mercedes
I had to tell you, like, that's crazy, the fact that we teammates right now.
Mercedes was born in 84. Here it is. Mercedes was born in 84. Aaron Rodgers was born in 83. I was born in 82. So, I mean, I rep them boys, even though I say, man, they can have, I'm over here talking trash of what I would have done. No, them days is long gone. Now I get to talk to 20-somethings named Dominique Dafney. The next, you don't got to be the next Kirk Herbstreit. Be the first Dominique Dafney. Go out there and get it in, sir. I'm looking forward to seeing you on TV. Big Ten Network. Y'all some trash talking jokers in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all talking. I like it.
Yeah. I got 2 quick fun ones for you. One Big Ten related and one NFL related. We'll go NFL first. Number 1, it could be one of the teams you played with, or maybe not. Is there a team that you played with that you enjoyed the most, or is there a team you did not play with that you wish you would have played with?
Are you talking just team or like city as well?
Yes, whichever one you want to go to.
Most fun city was definitely Tampa. I mean, it's Florida, so you don't gotta say too much.
I played with the Bucks too. I was down there. I was down there. But I had Jeff Garcia and Ryan Greasy. I had back in the day quarterbacks. I was calling Jeff Garcia Mr. Garcia. Hey, Mr. Garcia, listen, don't call me Mr. Okay, you want me to call you? So yeah, Tampa's a nice city, man. It's nice. It's nice.
It was that first year of Baker too, so the boys, we had a good time. That's all I have to say. It was a good time in Tampa. As far as the team, I'd easily Green Bay. I mean, we were so close knit. I mean, we had to be. It was COVID. We couldn't hang out with nobody else, so we was hanging out with each other, hanging out for Thanksgiving because we couldn't go see our families for Christmas. Couldn't go see our families, so we were all hanging out and really got to know each other as men, which was really nice. And that I think that also equated to being able to reach out to some of the bigger names in the NFL, is because we're all men, we all put on the shield, and just being able to have that camaraderie that we did with I sitting at the lunch table and seeing Aaron Rodgers, and I'm like, these guys are really as goofy as I am. I'm thinking they're like serious, button up the whole time. They cracking jokes. We all having a good time. So I'm like, you don't really know until you know. So I was like, when I was in that moment, I was like, man, this is one of the greatest times of my life. And just being able to be around those guys and share laughs and share memories that I'll remember forever. That was one of those teams I'll never forget.
And then my Big Ten question is, with the NIL and everything, transfer portal and everything that's going on in the era. So Ohio State, Michigan, teams like that. I don't want to hear that answer here. What is a team, since you're in the Big Ten country, it can be Iowa, it could be Minnesota, whatever your answer is. Who is a team upcoming this year in college football that we should look out for in the Big Ten? They may not win the national championship, but they might be there in the end in maybe the conference championship game, or might be able to contend for something this year.
So I can't say Ohio State. I can't say Michigan.
Well, yeah, because everyone knows those. We're talking about good underdog, and maybe not Indiana, right? But like an Indiana-like season.
I think Michigan State is going to be a good team. Just got a new head coach. They actually just got a special teams coach from Iowa, LeVar Woods. Love Coach Woods. That's one of the best coaches I ever had. Really, really helped me find the love for football again. Like, that's one of the best coaches I ever had in college. I think Michigan State is going to become the Michigan State of old. I think they might not get to the Big Ten championship, but I think they're going to start looking like a better outfit on offense and on defense. They have the talent. They had one of the receivers they had, Nick Marsh, last year was tough. Like, he was like that. So they have athletes for sure. I think it's just a culture thing when it comes to the Big Ten is the whole team on the right mindset. And because those games are so close, those games you could really lose any weekend. It doesn't matter. Like, they are very close games most of the times. Rarely do you get blown out by 30 unless you're Purdue playing Ohio State, like on those years when Ohio State's really, really good. But most of the times the games are close. So it's a lot about culture, mindset, doing the right thing for 4 quarters. So I think they're going to be back into a good football team to where they're making some noise and potentially fighting for a spot in the Big Ten championship game, or kind of around the bubble in that tier 2 of the Big Ten.
He is Dominique Dafney for Ben Troop. I am Ryan Smith. Dominic, thank you so much for coming on Winning the Division. It was a pleasure having you, and we'll have to have you back on at some other time soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
But we the best team in the league. I'm just saying. I would say that we are. That's nothing against the quarterback, man. We the biggest. I always say the tight end is if the quarterback gets the gun and we the bullets, the tight end, that's the biggest bullet in the chamber. Just saying.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'm just saying.
Well, we'll be back next week with another episode here on Winning the Division, episode 108. This has been Winning the Division. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Keep Hunting Podcast Network, Fans First Sports Network, Tobacco Road Sports Radio on YouTube. Once again, Dominique Dafney, former NFL tight end, our guest today. For Ben Troop, I'm Ryan Smith. As we say here on Winning the Division, you are either winning your division or you are just in your division. We will see you guys next time.